Tetapi kita ingin memahami bagaimana situasi banjir ini berlaku, bagaimana cuaca ini untuk kita fahami dengan lebih mendalami dan dengan lebih mendalam, dan juga pada hari-hari akan datang ini bagaimana untuk kita menjangkakan situasi cuaca dan juga banjir selepas ini. Dan kita nak terus saja bersama dengan Dr. Shiba. Dr. Shiba Natukandi Cenoli, Pensyarah Kanan Jabatan Geografi Universiti Malaya yang sudah pun bersedia di talian ketika ini. Dr. Shiba, thank you so much for your time today. We want to understand the weather in Klang Valley in the past few days. Is this unusual or has this been predicted already?
Hi. As we know, over Malaysia, now we have northeast monsoon season, so we can expect heavy rainfall and associated flooding. And you can see that is kind of annual occurrence during the northeast monsoon, especially along the east coast of Peninsular Malaysia. And currently, we are experiencing northeast monsoon and heavy rainfall and associated flood that have happened last few days. And we can actually attribute this to a combination of few events. So during northeast monsoon season, you might have heard about cold surges, right? So cold surges is very cold air that is coming out from the intense, Siberian region over Southeast Asia. So this cold air will acquire and accumulate moisture as it passes over the warm ocean. And when it reaches over Malaysia, it usually causes heavy rainfall. So this explains why we always experience high rainfall during northeast monsoon, usually during, December, January months. So this time, there is another factor that is contributing, which is a tropical depression, and it was called as TD29. So this tropical depression was formed over the southern part of Gulf of Thailand, and it headed over westward across the central Peninsular Malaysia, and it remains over there, over the Strait of Malacca, and which causes heavy rainfall. So usually we have thunderstorm, which it can weaken or it can cause heavy rainfall just for a few hours only. But this low pressure system can stay there for a long time, and it can contribute rainfall for longer duration. And in addition to that, we also had this Typhoon Roy, and it contributed, strong southwesterly wind, and this will sustain or move this low pressure system, help to move the low pressure system over the Peninsular Malaysia. So these are the few factors, and also we are in the La Nina condition now. That means we can expect more vigorous northeast monsoon period. So these are the few factors that contributed heavy rainfall and associated flooding that we see in the last few days.
There are a lot of factors in play here, and we want to understand each one of them a little bit more deeper. You mentioned the low tropical pressure system, and this is what everyone is talking about at the moment. But, at least I think in my view, it is still a little bit technical, or a little too technical for me to understand how exactly does this translate into the floods that we're seeing at an unusual scale, especially in the Klang Valley. So how exactly can we understand all these big factors that we're seeing in the South China Sea, the typhoon and whatnot, but especially what people are talking about with the low tropical pressure system, we want to understand that how does this translate into unusual weather and also floods at an unpredictable and a much bigger scale, especially in urban areas?
All right. So as I mentioned earlier, the tropical depression causes, heavy rainfall, and the difference between our normal system like thunderstorms and the tropical depression is that it can contribute more rainfall, and it will be there for longer time. Usually, if you see the thunderstorms, like 2 to 3 hours, it will form, and there will be heavy rain, and after that you wouldn't see that, right? But the low pressure system generates heavy rainfall, and it can can sustain for longer period of time. So if you have longer period of time, heavy rainfall, then the system cannot take it, like our drainage system or the water, the soil itself cannot hold the moisture for so long, then you can have a flood. So that is the difference between our usual rainfall and the rainfall that we have seen in the last few days.
So could we have already seen this coming?
Yes, I think there were forecasts from Malaysian Met Department, and you can see it in the satellite image where it is moving. So we were actually closely looking at it. So you can see it in the weather charts, you can see it in the satellite images. It is already, people are already tracking the movement.
So this has already been predicted, the meteorological department has already tracked this, but a lot of people were still unaware or underprepared. Do we not have an early warning system in place?
I think there were warning, but I'm not sure, how authorities handle this, but I can say the warning was there in the Met Department, the website and also in the Facebook. I have seen it is coming, and we were looking at this satellite images and also, other details to look at where it is moving and how it is intensifying, etc.
Have we seen floods at this scale in Klang Valley before? And if we have, what perhaps could have been the similar factors that were put in play, or if not, what could have been some of the factors that led to this unusual change in weather?
If you look at the tropical region, the whole tropical region, not only the Southeast Asia, you can see this time this region is very active. That means a lot of low pressure systems are, during this year, we can see a lot of them moving across over India and, over other places. That means it might be because impact of, climate change. Because, for that to know whether it is really increasing and those things, we need a further analysis, but it can be due to the increase in the temperature and the ocean heat content is increasing, and also the atmosphere can, accommodate a lot of moisture when the temperature increases. So it can be an impact of, global warming, but to look into the further you have to look into the further details to confirm whether it is really because of the impact of climate change.
Okay, so what can we expect in the next coming days? Can we pinpoint some of the hot spots or locations that can be at risk?
As I mentioned, what triggered this extreme rainfall events, the combination of few factors, right? And we can see the low pressure system has now moved away from our region towards the western side, and we would not experience any rainfall, heavy rainfall next few days. But however, this is being northeast monsoon season, and also we are in the La Nina condition. We can expect heavy rainfall during coming week also. But at present, I think we can expect better weather in next few days.
Dr. Shiba, you mentioned climate change, and I guess as you said, it is rather early for us to jump to conclusions, but this has been warned before repeatedly by experts, perhaps maybe such as yourself, about incoming extreme weather as an effect of climate change. So maybe in the next few coming days we'll see, and as you said, maybe the weather will improve in the next few coming days, but we want to look perhaps in the longer term, perhaps in the next few coming years. Can we assume at this point that unusual and extreme weathers will be a norm in our country?
Yes, as you can see, the IPCC reports, they are going for the change in the weather pattern because of as an impact of climate change, and there might be increase in the extreme, weather events. So I think we should look into the scenarios, what kind of scenarios we can expect in the next, in the future, and also need to work on the adaptation and mitigation plan for this.
When we're talking about climate change, surely we're looking at rapid development. So when we're talking about the Klang Valley specifically, what could be some of the factors that have been put in play for the past few years, or perhaps even in the past few decades, that could help us understand the appearance of these unusual and drastic weather changes, and for the next few coming years, as you've said, repeated warnings from experts and international organizations on the effects of climate change. How can we understand our preparedness for the next few coming years as we're facing more and more extreme weathers due to climate change and its connection to rapid development? Are we prepared? What changes should we make now?
I think we should look into, the areas like our drainage system, preparing for the the extreme events, how we can be more prepared for the extreme events, and also dissemination of warning, etc. I think that should be our aim. Maybe we have to look at the floodwater management, how we can, if we have this kind of sudden events in the future, how we can look into the floodwater management. The break of the cliffs, etc., landslide, etc. So I think the research or the focus should be more on this kind of unexpected events so that we will be prepared in the future.
Dr. Shiba, I think what was also different this time around was that we saw several locations, especially in the Klang Valley, that were flooded in areas that were not flooded before. And so we want to understand, can we expect more floods to happen in areas where they were not flooded before? Can we predict some vulnerable areas in the Klang Valley to be at risk?
Actually, in the university, we are looking at the, whether we can predict some kind of precursor feature for the extreme rainfall. So we are funded by the Ministry of Higher Education to look at this project so that we can be aware where we can expect more rainfall. If you know the precursors or if you know the mechanisms that contributing the extreme rainfall, then we can get an idea of the precursors of the extreme rainfall. So we are looking at that at present because this flooding event usually depends on the duration of the rainfall and also location and the intensity. So if the rainfall happens to be different place, maybe it is over the river, the up over the river where the impact of the rainfall becomes maximum. So even for a short duration, if you have a heavy rainfall on a different location, we can expect flood. And even if the rainfall is, the intensity is low, but if it is for a longer duration, then you can expect flood. So we have to consider several factors to look into what causes flood events at a place. So we are looking into that at present. So I think they might come out with the all these results as soon as possible.
Dr. Shiba, are there any countries that are facing similar risks like Malaysia, and what can be some learning lessons for Malaysia here that we can perhaps look at or from other countries? We're talking about maybe as an example, they're talking about the sponge city concept in China, which they say can be implemented here. What do you think can be some examples for Malaysia in our preparation for more extreme weather in the next few coming years?
I'm a meteorologist, so I'm not very sure about the plans that, people can take it. I think the hydrologist or, the other experts will be better for this to comment.
All right, thank you so much anyway for your time and for your comments. That was Dr. Shiba Cenoli. Terima kasih kepada Dr. Shiba Cenoli, Pensyarah Kanan Jabatan Geografi Universiti Malaya UM.